up? What's up, my people? Welcome back. My voice, our agenda. I've been away for a little bit. You know, had some things I need to take care of. But welcome back. You know me, I like to start off with giving all praises to God. Without him, I'm nothing. I want to thank him for waking me up this morning. All praises to God. You know, nothing moves without him, right? Listen, first I want to thank everybody for supporting me. Everybody that had subscribed to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it. It's going to be a journey, baby. I'm new at this, right? But I ain't going nowhere. Today I want to talk about something very important. You know, if you got children, if you have son, daughter, both, multiple, you know how much your children or your kid mean to you. And as parents, we want to lead by example and make sure we raise our children to be respectful, educated, not to depend on anyone else, and set them up to be successful. I've always said that everything starts at home. Everything starts at home. We can't rely on the teachers at school to lay that foundation for our children. Everything starts at home. You would like to have both parents at home. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, you only have single parents, mostly women. There are cases where men are single parents too. So having children, raising your children, raising a child can be tough financially, emotionally, mentally, physically. It can be tough, but it's also a blessing. And you always want your child to leave home when they reach a certain age, whether they're going out to a friend's house, going out to the park, going to school, going to work. You always want them to come home in one piece, come home safe. But we live in a doggy dog world, and you just never know what can happen. Very scary. You know, as children, those of us that grew up in a household where our parents had structure, we had to listen to what our parents had to say. And, you know, they always prayed that their messages got through our thick head. Because you know, as kids, we think we know everything. Uh, so we always try to do the opposite of what our parents taught us. But at the end of the day, they laid that foundation, and that foundation carry you through your young teenage years, your young adult years, into your full adult years. Because if you were raised correctly, that foundation set the tone for who you were, whether you were a young boy or a young girl. That foundation, that solid foundation, that positive foundation, paved that way for you to be, for you to become that young adult. Because you know, every parent wants their child to be successful. I don't think there's a parent on earth that want their child to be unsuccessful, to be a failure in life. But when you send them off to school, to college, high school, middle school, elementary, you just want them to come home safe. And this is where it brings me to this episode, where I want to talk about the Carmelo Anthony situation out in Texas. Very, very unfortunate situation for both families. If you haven't heard about that case, Carmelo Anthony, a young black male teenager, 17 at the time when it happened, uh, got into an altercation uh, with two young white kids, teenagers. Um, one of them being one of the twins, Austin Metcalf. Uh, I don't have all the facts, man. You know, it's online, social media. You have everybody thinking they were there, but based off of some of the information that came out, it was a track meet out in Texas. Both Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony were attended that track meet. They didn't go to the same school. They went to different schools, but they were both athletes. And apparently, at that moment, that day in April, uh, at that track meet, it began to rain. And according to the information that was out, Carmelo Anthony was trying to escape the rain and ran into a tent where other kids were there, teenagers. And allegedly, Austin Metcalf and his twin brother approached Carmelo Anthony. Some kind of conversation happened, and I don't know what was said. You know, no one knows what was said, only those that were there. And allegedly, Austin put his hands on Carmelo. Allegedly. And there was an altercation, brief altercation, where Carmelo Anthony decided to pull out a knife or whatever he had and stabbed Austin Metcalf once. And unfortunately, Austin Metcalf lost his life. I'm being brief, and because I don't have all the facts. There is a video out. I tried to watch the video last week. It was a video that didn't really show too much. It was long distance. It was a silhouette of the individual involved, but there is enough video for the grand jury to have indicted Carmelo Anthony um, for the murder of Austin Metcalf. And that's the reason why I started off the video talking about having children, because it's very unfortunate that both parents of Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, there's no winner. Yes, it's a divided country. There was a black child, there was a white kid. Um, both young men are represented by their families. And I will continue to say I wasn't there, no one was there that has so much of opinion. Yes, his twin brother was there. Austin twin brother was there, and a couple other teenagers were there. But also on social media, we don't know what happened. And, you know, we live in a country where there's so much division, and we just can only hope that Carmelo Anthony gets a fair trial. And, my heart goes out to Austin Metcalf and his family. Because, I don't care what color you are. It's very unfortunate for any child to die in any type of way. But I will say this. If the story is true that they put his hands on Austin and his brother, or Austin alone, put his hands on Carmelo Anthony, he had every right to defend himself. If it comes out that Carmelo Anthony acted recklessly, then he should be charged fairly. Justice should be served. And I know a lot of people they're really not gonna like me saying that, but I have to be real, right? I have to be real. I'm a parent. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be fair. You have to keep an open mind. But what I will not tolerate the disrespect. I have a guy on Facebook, I'm not gonna call his name out, but if he do watch this video, I'm calling you out, bro. When you start to judge Carmelo Anthony's parents saying he wasn't raised right, and showing insensitive uh, being insensitive about the whole situation and being racist, I won't tolerate that, because Carmelo Anthony, based off the research that I did, he held down 2 jobs. He was an honor student. He had no criminal record. And that doesn't mean that he was wrong or he was right. I'm just saying, at 17 years old, you holding down two jobs. You a star athlete. You're an honor student. It sounds like his parents was doing a hell of a job to me. Uh, and both parents, he had both parents in the home. Uh, and because that's that stigma that we have on black families and black parents and black children, where uh, the father isn't there, and that child comes from a bad home. Well, this is not the case, obviously. So sometimes we gotta keep our opinion to ourselves. Everybody have a right to their opinion, but if you don't have the fact, you need to shut the hell up. I did my research on that, and I also did my research on the Metcalf family. But I'm not about to, you know, throw all dirt in the air and do all of that, you know. But I will say this: uh, I think it's Jeff Metcalf is the father of Austin Metcalf. He wasn't a part of his life like that. He wasn't even in the home. Um, he had a very distant relationship with his children, and allegedly he has a criminal past, and he assaulted uh, the parent, the mother of Austin Metcalf. Now I'm gonna say allegedly because even though that's what I read, you know, you got to be careful what you read online. But hey, why did you say it? If well, I said allegedly, but it is said that Jeff Metcalf wasn't too involved with his children. He wasn't in their lives full time. That doesn't make him a bad dad, whatever. But I'm just saying, you put this stigma on black families are not don't have both parents in the home. Um, it's definitely wrong. But again, this is a serious case. I'll be following this case, uh, and the trial has been set because he was out on a $250,000 bond after they reduced. The judge did reduce the bond, for he was able to get out on a $250,000 bond, and the trial is set for June 1st, 2026. So he'll be going to trial on that date, and I definitely will be keeping a close eye on that. Uh, so yeah, I just wanted to take the time out to talk about that. We're living in a very divided society right now, and you know we don't know the full story. And like I said earlier, we don't know the full story. I'm just hoping that things don't get out of hand, and Carmelo get a fair trial. He get a jury of his peers, and the truth come out. That's all I'm saying. The truth will come out. I know a lot of black people are saying he's not going to get a fair trial, especially in Texas. They racist as hell out there. But I don't want to think that those 12 jurors are going to be biased either way. but it's a very unfortunate situation for both families. So I just wanted to touch on that. If you haven't heard about the Carmelo Anthony uh, situation, the stabbing that happened out there in Texas in April, check it out. The big case. No, and this is not Carmelo Anthony, the NBA basketball player. This is not his child. Obviously, it's not. Well, he's 18 years old, so obviously it's not him. But they're not related. Um, a lot of people were getting confused about the Carmelo Anthony, the NBA player, the former NBA player, and this kid. He actually, the young 18-year-old now, he spelled his name with a K, and the NBA player spells his name with a C. So I just wanted to touch on that, drop a little video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Leave a comment, press that like button, violate that like button. I'm waiting for people to leave comments, man. I'm asking you guys to leave a comment and continue, to check out my page, my channel, my voice, our agenda. Check it out and make sure y'all stay involved in that case. Very important. If you have kids, talk to your kids about how to handle tough situations like that. You got to have that conversation with your kids. I don't care what color you are. If you can walk away from something before it escalates and become fatal, or somebody get injured real bad, talk to your kids on how to know how to handle those situations. Of course, even as adults, things happen real fast, and it sounds like that's what happened. It just happened real fast. So even as adults, we gotta know how to have some kind of restraint. But things happen, and we all want our children to step outside and make it home safe. Unfortunately, this didn't happen. Austin Metcalf lost his life, and Carmelo Anthony is fighting for his life right now. He's fighting for his freedom. So, again, very unfortunate. But thank you guys for tuning in. I just wanted to uh, talk about that. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Live, love, and love yourself. That's my motto. Live, love, and love yourself. God bless. I love you guys. Thank you.